Now that you've found UBN Radio and discovered our quality talk shows, it's time to spread the word to friends, family, and the universe. 24 hours of music and talk. Radio without limits. That's why people keep coming back for more. That's ubnradio.com.
Welcome to Both Sides Now, featuring the unconventional duo, Dr. Shirley and medium Kellee White. Two perspectives, one world. This is Both Sides Now.
Hi there, and welcome to Both Sides Now. I'm Dr. Shirley Pellizzeri.
And I'm medium Kellee White.
I think that's the first time I've said my last name.
It is.
I don't know why I did it. And John's here with us.
Hi, John.
Our lovely engineer.
Hey, ladies. Good to be back.
And our lovely intern, Fabio.
Hey, Fabio.
So,
And hi, Periscope.
yeah, hi, Periscope. So today we are talking about stress.
Stress.
Mm-hmm.
I know none of us have ever experienced stress, right? I mean,
Never.
again, that's really part of the incarnation. I'll
Right.
deal with stress, loss, death, grieving,
Well-
and add stress to that.
Yeah, I think that human and stress are synonyms, right?
Oh my gosh. And first let me just start with the planetary aspects.
Yeah, please
yet
do.
Again, we still have, at this point, we have 3 planets retrograde. So Mercury went direct.
Okay.
So things should be a little easier. Like you'll make your planes hopefully on time, and lights won't go off. You can sign contracts now. Now's a good time to sign contracts. But we still have 2 other ones that are retrograde: Saturn and Mars and Pluto. I'm sorry, 3 major ones that are still retrograde.
And so what's the energy with those?
Well, it's stress on steroids. I mean, this is going to be this month and then in the next several weeks. In fact, really through September, it's a pretty intense
Really? So
time.
the whole
people,
summer?
Yes, the whole summer. I mean, I every time people will say, "But you said just no." What I really meant to say, if I didn't say it, is it's frankly till the end of 2017. So
Great.
Just be
Thank
prepared
you.
for stress, and we'll talk about how to deal with stress and all of that. But it will be a very stressful time for people, and because it brings change, transformation. That brings stress to people when they have to change, or when there's a sudden death, or they lost their jobs, or they just found out they're pregnant, or any sort of a change. You add that with the traffic in LA, and you've got a lot of stress.
So it's probably both, but is it that we have more stress, or that we take things worse than we would have, say, last year?
Good question. Well, there's not a lot of bandwidth. People don't have a lot of bandwidth right now.
So it shortens the bandwidth, and it may add some stuff.
Yes,
Okay.
and unexpected stuff.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of unexpected stuff in the last few weeks. Just crazy stuff out of the blue, like weird stuff that came back. And it also brings up old past things to come back in. And sometimes when you have an old thing that comes back, it brings stress. Like, I don't want to deal with an ex, or I don't want to deal with.
But if it brings an
something in
old
the
past thing, it could actually be a great thing
it could
that you can
be, but
resolve.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that would be but that would be the good part of it.
Right.
But the initial feeling of the stress of it, and then once you can let go, and we can talk about that, then it gets better, of course. But I think people, their first reaction is to hold on, oh God, it's so stressful.
Yeah.
Alcohol helps. Can help
Well,
with that. But I mean,
thank you for that.
You're welcome.
One way of coping, I suppose.
I mean, sometimes you just need a cocktail. It helps.
But we don't
with the
advocate
stress.
it.
No.
We don't advocate it, so
Although
you didn't
vodka
hear it
cran
here.
grape is really delish. Sorry, but that's how I deal with a lot of stress.
Moving on.
Anyway.
Okay, so
Okay.
let's talk about
Stress?
baby.
My baby?
No, isn't that a song in the
She's talking
80s? Let's talk about stress,
Well,
baby.
I did want to
Let's
start
talk about
with
sex,
something.
but you change it to stress.
Oh, is that the song? Oh my God.
Which can affect your sex, actually. Stress. can
I
make you
really
underperform.
thought it was stress, but it's sex. Okay.
There you go, girl. I thought you wanted to talk about what happened to my girl, Livy May.
Don't read me right now with
I
that,
won't.
okay?
I'm not. And there's no judgment here.
Okay.
But I did want to tell you an interesting thing that happened with my dog, Livy May.
Yeah, okay.
Oh my God, this I thought about you immediately. I came home yesterday, and I have a herder. My girl is a herder. She's a Briard, and she's a herder. She weighs about 85 pounds.
And she's big.
She's big girl,
Yeah,
big girl.
big girl.
And she was, we have, it's a staircase to go to my office is in the second floor of her home. And so she follows me. She doesn't lead, she follows. And a herder pushes you along,
Okay.
So she goes up the first stairs, like there's 6 or 7 stairs. And then there's a landing and it turns around. Then you go up another 6 or 7 stairs and she gets to the top. So I was just doing my thing and she was following me. And next thing I know, I hear a clunk, clunk, and she slid all the way down to the landing, actually.
Oh, wow.
And it was really, it could have been really bad.
Yeah.
But it was startling. So I turn around and I see her slip and fall. There was nothing I could do. It happened so fast.
Yeah.
And of course, when we got to the landing, I thought, okay, let's see what she does. And she slowly turned and slowly got up and walked down the front of the stairs.
Mm-hmm.
So now she's in the first floor.
Mm-hmm.
And I had her get to the couch. She loves the couch. And she gets on the couch, and I really just checked her out, making sure she was okay. And all of a sudden, Shirley, she starts shaking like this. Shake, 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 like to shake it off. Have you always said that they shake off trauma?
Yes.
Actually, her tail, her head, her whole body was shaking like this. And I knew now, because you've taught me to know what animals do in the wild, animals do this.
Yeah.
She was not traumatized. And then knowing what I knew, that's what she was doing, I wasn't traumatized.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Really, because it
Wow.
would have gone to me immediately.
Well, because we think, oh, no, she's shaking. What's wrong? Or,
Well,
we try
I
and
would
stop
have thought
them.
that, and I would have thought, oh, she broke her hip. I mean, with the big, large dog, she's 10. It's a possibility.
Yeah.
Slipping down the stairs like
Wow.
that.
So you actually got to see
Actually
in
witnessed
vivo
it. Yeah.
an animal shaking off the fight or flight energy
Yes.
that shows up with the traumatic event.
Yes, that's exactly what happened.
Wow.
I mean, down to her tail, her face, a whole thing like
That's
that.
how animals do it.
And then when I saw that, then I knew she was okay.
Yeah, that she wasn't going to be traumatized.
She was
and
not
I bet you she
traumatized.
was able to walk up the steps, up and
Oh,
down, with not even a hesitation.
Without a hesitation. She
Wow.
went up just as fast as she did the
That's-
first time and got over, and off we went into my office, and
That's
she was fine.
amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my God, what a great story! I
Isn't
love
that
hearing
good?
that.
Yeah,
Yeah, because
so-
it's so important.
Oh.
Well, and they say, there's this definition of stress that you brought up on
Mm-hmm.
Psychology Today.
Oh.
Stress is simply a reaction to a stimulus that disturbs our physical or mental equilibrium, and it's true.
Mm-hmm.
And so, stress is anything that takes us out of our homeostasis. So, any stress can be traumatic.
Mm-hmm.
We think about the word trauma as something a big deal. But if it overwhelms our nervous system,
interesting.
then a stressful situation can be traumatic.
So is overwhelming the situation meaning our bandwidth, we don't have enough bandwidth to contain it? Our container is so full we can't contain it?
It depends on where our homeostasis is, but if we're naturally pretty calm and something like comes at us, it's going to take us out of that calmness. And so that's a stressor to the nervous system.
Okay.
So it dysregulates us. Sometimes it dysregulates us up, so we feel, it's more activated, or we're down-regulated and it pushes us down. But nonetheless, they both affect our nervous system.
And where does the fight or flight come in with
So many times stressors activate the fight or flight because it's something coming at us.
that? So can you talk about what that is, even the fight or flight?
The fight or flight is something that your brain does automatically, involuntarily, without thinking, anytime we feel like we're going to get attacked or something happens. Like, Livy in that moment didn't know if somebody was grabbing her from behind and pushing her down the stairs
Yeah.
or something. And so we just know that we might get hurt. And so that stimulates the fight or flight, which is why she was able to then do the movements of the nervous system to get that energy out. Because that energy gets stuck in our nervous system if we don't do something, if we don't let our innate ability of the nervous system to shake it off.
To
Sometimes
shake it
it's a
off.
subtle shaking that I couldn't see in you, but many times, I'll ask, when I'm working with someone, they'll say, I'm noticing a shaking in my arms. And I don't see the arm shaking, but they notice it on the inside. So
Wow.
sometimes it could be very subtle, or sometimes it could be more, exaggerated, like you noticed with Livy.
Right.
Yeah. And that then allows the nervous system to process that moment of shock. And so then it's just a memory, but it doesn't have to affect us. It doesn't have to continue to affect us.
Well, and it's funny because with that, it didn't affect me the way it would have going forward. I would have been, oh, Dawn, I have to tell you the worst story that happened. And I would have been, overwhelmed and feeling, kinds of feelings. And I didn't. I was able to say, oh, look, this is what happened. And what we're going to do is we're going to put some rugs there. We have wood floors. We're going to put some rugs there and strategically. So we don't know if it was her nails that caused it. We're not really sure what caused it. She
her
slipped.
slipping. Yeah.
But,
yeah.
It's interesting. But so thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. I mean, I think that if we can see it in a more kind of matter-of-fact way, that stress or a traumatic event, but that's kind of what stress is, when we've got a deadline and when we've got, the primitive part of the brain doesn't know the difference between, a deadline isn't a tiger coming at you.
Oh, it sure feels that way.
Right? It does.
Yes, it does.
And that part of the brain hasn't evolved. And so a deadline can fuel us with enough stress, particularly if we think, if I don't hit the deadline, I'm going to get fired. If I get fired, I'm not going to be able to pay my mortgage, and all this stuff that goes with it. So the brain is going into fight or flight, and what do? We sometimes suppress it with a drink, or but it's important to just sit, slow it down, and just notice. Okay, what am I feeling as I think I may not meet the deadline? And you'll notice it. You'll notice either a tightness in your chest or a fluttering in your stomach, and if you just let it be. If you just tune in and let it be, many times it dissipates on its own.
Right.
And so you've been able to kind of allow your body to metabolize that energy.
One thing, and I've never really thought about this until just now, but for some reason, I've been able to take on a lot, and I can able to take on a lot more stress than the average person probably, I think.
You do.
I
you take on a lot.
Well, you take on a lot too. I mean, and I'm wondering, is it because, or how does that work? Is it because I've learned to deal with it and move on and get to the next one, deal with it, move on with the next one? Or is it a kind of a thing where, I don't know, it doesn't affect me as greatly as it used to? I don't know how to explain that.
Well, I think if you may not notice that you're kind of slowing it down and kind of letting your body metabolize it. Because if we stay kind of tight and
I don't stay that way anymore. I go, okay, here's the next one. All right.
Right. I think that's what you're doing. That you're not staying tight and then this and then that.
Yeah, I do not do that.
Like
I
the
don't
water
do that
off
anymore.
a duck's back.
Yeah, kind of. I hear it. I go, okay.
Well, but
I deal with it instead.
I
of,
think
instead
I
of,
think you.
I don't freeze anymore or fly. Yeah, I don't do any of that.
I think you deal with it because the water off a duck's back is almost like we're not letting it in. But sometimes things get in, anyways.
Yeah.
In fact, remember when Gina Ross was here? She's a therapist, but also trained in somatic experiencing. She's actually doing a 3-day workshop, July 8th, 10th, and 11th. On the first day it's her system, and remember she described it here, on emotional first aid for stress and trauma.
Oh, yes.
She's calling it EFAST.
Yes.
And you can go to the first day, and you don't have to go to the second or third day. The second or third day is communication and conflict resolution. I've taken it. It's a brilliant workshop. But if you just can hit the first day, she teaches you exactly how to do it. How to do it at the end of the night to kind of process through stuff that happened during the day and give your nervous system enough time to let it metabolize, and maybe that's what you're doing organically when you meditate.
I was just going to say, because I've been meditating for so many years at this point. I've been literally meditating since 2000.
Wow.
And last 16 years. And really, it has helped with everything. It has slowed my brain down enough that I can deal with whatever it is that comes along. And I get hit with a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I mostly can deal most of the time with the LA traffic. Most of the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes I can't. But it's slowed. The meditation has slowed my brain down enough so I don't erupt I don't do any of that. I just deal with it.
Yeah.
The meditation is certainly a great, great coping skill.
So you're breathing.
I'm breathing. I'm like, okay, did anybody die? Well, sometimes they have. And I used to say, well, it's just, somebody died, somebody have cancer. And I'm like, well, yes and yes. So, but it's funny what you can deal with.
Yeah.
It's amazing what life can throw at you and what you can deal with.
Oh, absolutely. But I think that slowing it down is key, because
slowing it down.
Many times we go from one thing to another, and all of a sudden we're tight. Sometimes I'll notice at night that my shoulders are up here, and I'm trying to sleep, and then I'm thinking, okay, what's uncomfortable? And then I go, oh, and I'll push them down. And then the body relax,
Right.
So knowing your body language, but, I think this might be for those of you who live in LA and you want to come in for this 3-day workshop with Gina Ross. It's exactly on first aid for stress. And to register, you go to her email, Gina@GinaRoss.com. Gina@GinaRoss, ROSS.com. She also has website, GinaRoss.com. So go there and register if you want more information on this, but she does a step-by-step. And she did it on our show if you want to look for an old show. I can't remember exactly when she came on. Might have been around, I can't remember. Anyways, but look on the website, the UBN website. But yeah, because there definitely are things that we can do so we don't continue to accumulate
Exactly.
the stress.
Exactly.
Stress is a part of life, but it doesn't. But we can let go of it as the stressful situations come. We don't need to let it accumulate.
Well, what kind of stresses are there? Let's talk about some of the different types of stresses that there are.
Well, if you're dealing, I think, with someone who, a loved one has a terminal illness or is sick, that's certainly a stressor.
Or how about a stressor of having a friend or family member that's got a personality disorder? That can be very stressful.
Oh, that's a very stressful thing,
stressful.
ongoing basis.
Ongoing,
So,
you're kind of hit with that.
Yeah.
Financial stress.
Pardon me?
Financial stress is a big one.
Huge one for
Big
people.
one. And it doesn't mean, if you slow it down and you deal with it, it doesn't mean that the stress goes away. The next time you get that bill in the mail, you're going to feel the stress again. But just giving yourself enough time to slow it down allows it again to, like a wave, in the ocean, it comes up and then dissipate, not stay.
Right.
Work stress.
Oh, definitely. We're
It's a
stressed.
huge one.
School stress.
School stress, traffic stress.
Yeah, traffic.
Anything can be a stressor, really.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I've seen people in lines at the grocery store, and they get really pissed off if somebody, tries to cut in or whatever.
I know. And some things we can't control.
Yeah.
So not that I'm being Susie Sunshine, but what I try to do, like I was at the DNV, and of course a long line.
Yeah.
And I think, okay, the universe is giving me an opportunity to practice patience.
I love that.
Most of the time that works. Sometimes I'm still, it's still stressful because I have to get somewhere. Right. But then I think, okay, I'm still in line. It's still a long line, so what am I going to do? And so I really do that for myself. Okay, let me practice patience. What would that look like if I was patient right now? And I just kind of go into this whole thing, and I notice my feet on the ground, and I notice.
Oh, that's good.
And so grounding really helps with stress, noticing your feet on the ground. And I just take things as the universe, giving me an opportunity to practice.
They can throw them at you.
Right,
Yeah.
to practice, whatever, XYZ, to practice setting boundaries because maybe my, a family member is stressing me out.
Right.
So I have to practice boundaries.
That's a good one,
to lower
too.
my stress.
And what about practicing gratitude even in the middle of a stressful situation?
Oh, yeah, that's another great
it's
tool.
you're grateful that you're alive, maybe. You're grateful that you have, you just start practicing. I'm grateful for a great place that I live. I'm grateful for whatever it is you need in that moment.
Not as an instead of.
Right.
Because then you're just covering up the stress that you're feeling. But, okay, I feel stress about this. What can I feel grateful for? And so you're holding both.
And you can hold both.
This is exactly. Yeah. This isn't covering up the stress piece. And
Right.
just because you have a great home doesn't mean you can't be stressed out about this.
Exactly.
It's being able to just hold both, and it kind of can create a really nice balance between what's stressing you out, but what you're also grateful for.
And also what I tend to do too is I look at the bigger picture, of a soul having this human experience.
Right.
Listen, we did sign up for some crazy, wacky things.
Right.
Stress comes in with that package.
Yeah. That really helped me the first time I heard, I think James say it, right? That we're souls having a human experience.
Yes.
So then, you can kind of shift the perspective a little bit. Like, okay, this is happening to me. Maybe I knew it was going to happen to me on the other side. Nonetheless, it's still happening to me. So what can I do?
Right.
To work through it,
Right.
Yeah. It's, and it's certainly easier said than done when someone is having a huge stressor like the death of a loved one or something. We don't mean to minimize any of those big deal stressors.
Right.
But I think it's an important thing to do to help. It's part of self-care or self-compassion, right?
Oh, absolutely.
To help yourself out.
To have compassion for whatever it is that you're going through, and know this about stress. It comes. Sometimes I've noticed it comes in waves, and then all of a sudden you're okay. You can breathe. and it comes back again, and then you let it go for some reason. Have you noticed that?
Oh,
Have you
yeah.
guys noticed that?
Oh yeah, definitely.
With stress?
Same with anxiety, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So let's talk about the difference between stress and anxiety, or is it the same?
Well, I think
does
it's
stress
that
cause
old
anxiety?
thing. Well, I think that
Chicken before
stress,
the egg.
right? Well, no, stress
Right.
can be anxiety. Stress can or cannot bring anxiety, but anxiety will always bring stress because when we feel anxious, we're not, we're
Yeah.
operating up here. There's this,
Yes.
underlying sense of fear or,
Right.
many times anxiety comes up because we're pushing other emotions that we're too afraid to feel down. But, it's fear.
Right. Right.
So stress can sometimes come with fear.
And sometimes stress, like what may cause you stress, may not cause me stress.
Right.
And so you've got to be compassionate with everybody to see where their buttons are with that.
And even if you don't understand it, because being a left brain, there's a lot of things that don't cause me stress that cause other people stress.
As an HSP, right, John? Yeah, that's true.
So, but it's, who cares if I understand it or not?
Right.
If that's what you're going through, then to be there holding the space for you or being compassionate with you, I don't have to understand it.
And sometimes it's like, I don't know, I'll walk into the room with you in the office before we start, and I'll say, oh, Cheryl, blah, 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 whatever it happens to be. And you just hold the space. You're like, wow, okay, that's a rough one, yeah. And then I shake it off. Then I go back in the
Shake
room
it
and I'm
off.
fine.
That is so. I think that's why that song from who's
I love that song.
Taylor,
Such a
I
great
think
song.
that's why it became such a viral sensation because in a way she's really talking about what the nervous system innately knows to do
Wow.
with the stressor.
Wow.
And it's not as easy as just shaking it off, but really it kind of is. If you slow it down and notice what your body does, it does dissipate. It's fascinating how it works that way.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good
There
one.
was something she was onto with that.
Yeah,
I mean,
she did know something there.
she did because it became such a sensation.
Oh, it's a great song.
Yeah.
Now it's stuck in my head.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
It could be, and I would also kind of take a moment to make sense of maybe patterns. Do you find that things are always happening to you? So you're always stressed out because of this, and that doesn't mean the stressors aren't real. But is
Right.
there kind of a pattern of almost like
Great.
stress
That's a
follows
great
you?
point there. Or, I guess if we look at it through a personality disorder, is there a lot of drama?
Yeah.
Kind of. But with stress, it's a funny thing that you just said because some people really can't handle more than the other person.
Right.
And how does one start to let go of whatever this current stress is? I mean, do you, as a therapist, do you point that out to somebody? You're holding on to a lot of that stress.
Well,
Is
what
there
I
a
do
reason
point
for
out,
it, or?
if there's a reaction that seems to be more than what the situation calls for, not as a judgment, but as a curiosity
Oh, okay.
to what might be triggering this person. And sure enough, I'll say 99% of the time, we slow it down. Okay, imagine that's bringing you stress, whether it's a work thing or whatever. And what are you noticing? And then up will pop this image of when they were 4 or when they were, and so it's triggering something from the past that's been unresolved or
Oh, wow.
unhealed. So
You've brought then an awareness to it that once that awareness is there a release of some of the stress?
there
or-
is. So
Okay.
once you can heal that childhood, trauma, then you're still going to feel stress. But boy, isn't it better to feel 40% stress as opposed to 80% stress?
yeah.
You kind of minus, you subtract the stress that's added because it triggered something that was unresolved.
Right.
know?
What do you think is the best way for people to release stress? So we've talked about meditation. Exercise is certainly a great one.
Meditation, it's not about just sitting in silence because that's very hard for a lot of people. You're so practiced with it. I have a hard time with it. So what I do is YouTube is a huge source of information.
Yeah.
So even down to I was having a lot of back pain, and I always want to subtract the emotional so I can just deal with the physical, right? And so on YouTube, guided meditation for back pain.
meditations. Yeah. Oh, no kidding.
And I have to tell you, one time it was for a cold. I was just about to get the flu, and I had a cold, and I said, okay, I cannot be sick. I've got too much to do. guided meditation for flu and cold. And I got to tell you, the next day, it wasn't gone, but it wasn't worse. And the back pain did decrease a little bit.
Wow.
So guided meditations allows your mind to focus on something, and you can put guided meditation for stress relief.
Oh, that's a great idea.
That's and
That's
listen
a
to
great
it
idea.
at night. And if you fall asleep halfway through it, that's okay.
Right.
Doesn't
Oh,
matter.
Right.
You know?
Right.
There's also tapping. There's a wonderful.
Well, let's talk about tapping.
Yeah.
EFT?
EFT. Yeah. And
Emotional freedom
it's
technique.
EFT sometimes gets confused for emotionally focused therapy, which is different. That's a couples therapy. But tapping is when you tap different meridian points.
Yeah,
Oh,
emotional
so you-
freedom technique.
Emotional freedom technique.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
So you tap here, then you tap here, right above the eyebrows, and then you tap here on the side. Can't do it with my glasses. Then you tap here, then here, right under your collarbone, and then on the side. You know, and then when you're done, you tap up here and go to YouTube. Brad Yates is a really, great guy that does them. So tapping for stress, and then you say different things. Even though I'm really stressed out right now, I completely accept myself, and you just start tapping. And let me tell you, it does reduce it.
Wow.
That doesn't mean if you're in the middle of a huge stressor that it's not going to come back. It
Sure,
does, but boy,
sure.
if you can reduce it a little bit to
Right.
be okay,
Yeah.
But that's another great resource.
Yeah, I bet. That's a really good one.
Yeah, yeah.
So tapping.
So if you have a really stressful, you're going through a divorce, or you have a really stressful job, you do it in the morning. It literally takes no more than like 7 minutes, and you can follow it online, so you don't even have to think.
Wow,
You
wow.
could just follow what the guy is saying. He says it, you say it, and he teaches you where to tap. you
Right,
know?
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's so funny because stress is one of those things that it changes also throughout your life.
Yeah.
Like I was just thinking when I was a single parent, you were a single parent.
Yeah.
The stress of getting your child ready for school and getting
know.
the breakfast and getting the lunch and getting and then you hurry and getting dressed. And that's all of that is stressful.
Yeah, it's very stressful because
Yeah.
you want to do it right, and you want to do it, and I wish that I was less stressed. I wish that I knew how to decrease my stress during that time.
Do you think it would have been possible? I really wonder.
I think that, because again, what's the alternative?
Yeah.
We still have to make lunch and get to school and all that.
Right.
Why not do it in a de-stressed way than in a stressed way?
So possibly having more awareness, that you are under stress. What can we do about this?
Right, more awareness, or maybe those exercises would have reduced the stress, and so then I wouldn't be going, come on, let's go. I'd be going, hey, honey,
Oh,
come
you
on,
did that
let's go.
too? I did
Yeah.
that too. Sorry,
I feel-
Holiday.
I
I'm so
feel
sorry.
Terrible
Oh,
about
me
it.
too.
Because yelling,
I know.
really affects a child. So there's two different ways to do it. It doesn't have to be done that way. You still have the same amount of work to do. So I
Right.
wish that I would have had that wherewithal and that knowledge to have
Right.
done that. I've repaired
Good.
since then with all the knowledge that I have now and still learning and evolving. But so there's ways to reduce stress, even if the stressful situation is still there. There's ways to at least reduce it, so it's not adding up, or you're just about to go crazy.
Right, right. Because you don't want to get your stress so high that you're going to have a heart attack.
Exactly. And from a spiritual standpoint, I mean, what are some of the things?
Well, having awareness certainly is key. It's critical. So, okay, what is going on with me? So really, actually, asking, okay, why am I getting triggered? The traffic is always there.
Right.
This kind of stress. Having an awareness, maybe spending some alone time. Is extremely helpful. Setting alone time in nature. Even if I just go in our backyard and just breathe. We live at the side of a mountain, and I just sit and just breathe.
Yeah.
That helps.
Yeah.
Sometimes calling a friend to talk helps to release some of the stress. I also have adopted spiritually an attitude that's really been has saved my life, and that is, I know that things will get better.
Yeah.
I just know. I have a knowing that things will get better,
Well, hardly anything
and
lasts
it will get
forever.
through whatever
Right.
it happens to be. Nothing is forever.
Right. So it's kind of that term, this too shall pass.
This too shall pass. That is like my greatest line.
It really is important to remind ourselves of that, and to do
Right.
so, I think increasing self-care. If you're
Right.
really stressed out, even if it's 5 minutes. I remember people used to say to me, oh my God, you're so consistent with Sydney. She's in bed by 8 o'clock.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, I wish I would say that it's because I'm a good mother that I do that, but it's really because I need the downtime.
Right.
You know, and
Right.
so even if it's 10 minutes,
Right.
you know, of taking a shower and that's your alone time,
Right.
you know, or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever it happens to be. Or just
Exercise.
exercise, having a glass of wine, sitting down. Sorry, my go-to.
pushing that
I'm
alcohol.
sorry, but it's very helpful. Or meditation, yoga. Yoga is great for
Yeah.
that. Actually, great for stress. It's terrific stress release.
Well, yoga, they've done studies, and it's actually very good for the nervous system because when you have to hold a pose,
Yes.
you know, it stresses the nervous system, and then you stop holding the pose, so the nervous system gets used to, oh, this feels stressful, but it passes. So it almost teaches your brain, this too shall pass.
Yeah, this too
and
shall
that's
pass.
why it's so they use it a lot for trauma work.
And let's talk about positive stress. Like, how is stress ever used as a positive thing? Like, I know with wine, when they make wine, they always say they need the stress of the grapes to make the better wine.
Right.
And I can tell you from my own personal experience, wine, that that this I've in my life I've had a tremendous amount of stress and things that I've had to handle, and I have to say it's opened up spiritually. It's done a transformation in me. It's changed. It's opened up my heart chakras. I've grown from it. So spiritually, we grow often from a stressful situation.
Yeah.
We grow. We transform.
I
That's
think
how we learn.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's kind of like how
So it's got its place.
it sure does. It sure does. I mean, they talk about, even actors talk about that little bit of anxiety, which could be stress.
I've heard that from
actually
all the
motivates
actors.
them
Yep.
to go off and do their
Right.
act in their part. So a little bit of it can be very useful. It can be a motivator to
Yes.
get that report done before the deadline, or to go and do a great scene.
Right.
When it's too much and it overwhelms the nervous system, that's when it has to stay within kind of, we call it the window of tolerance.
Okay. So that kind of stress and this tolerance is
Right.
once it gets over.
Yeah, over either above or
Yeah.
below. Below it looks like depression, and above it can look like anxiety. Then that's when we need to keep it kind of within the window of tolerance. And the more we do that, the more we're expanding our window. So then we're able to tolerate a lot more. And again,
Wow.
doesn't mean it doesn't feel bad, if it's bad kind of stress. But we can tolerate it, and that's the important thing, is learning learning tolerance. Really.
Well, even in your book, Scared Speechless, you talk about stress, the
Yeah.
stress of public speaking.
Right, and how some of it can be used to actually propel you to give this exciting, so you can use it as excitement.
So you can, yeah.
Sometimes, we confuse stress with excitement or anxiety with excitement. And so when someone is saying, my heart's beating fast, and are you feeling excitement or are you feeling anxiety? And many times they'll go, oh, no, that feels exciting, because they both run on the sympathetic nervous system. So you have to really differentiate between the two.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you're a person who's used to feeling a lot of anxiety, you may not realize when you're feeling excitement, because it might feel the same. So you have to slow it down again, take a step back.
What is the difference between the parasympathetic and the
Sympathetic?
sympathetic?
The sympathetic is the fight or flight.
Okay.
The parasympathetic is the resting. Is when we can rest, the parasympathetic comes online, which is then we can digest food, because we don't have to be ready to take off running or fight. And that's why people who have had kind of chaotic childhoods, have a lot of gastro-intestinal issues, because they're always in fight or flight, and so the body never really gets to relax enough to digest food, because you don't want to be digesting your sandwich if you have to run away from the tiger.
Wow.
Yeah, so a lot of IBS and those
Could that be caused from stress?
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, because stress, when stress is too much, it really it causes the brain to go into fight or flight. And if we're in fight or flight, we're not worried about digesting that sandwich. Wow. We have to be ready. The blood has to go to our big muscles, so I can either fight you or I can run away. And if we're kind of stuck in that fight or flight,
Right.
then even if we're lying down, we're still stuck in fight or flight. We're still tense. The brain still thinks, oh no, we're still in danger. So the sandwich is not going to be digested. And so that's when you feel, stomach hurts, when you don't digest food properly, and that kind of thing. And that can get chronic as you get older. I had huge gastrointestinal issues. until I started to kind of learn this. And once you kind of, you work through your stuff and you heal the wounds, and you can teach your body to, and the body then starts to relax on its own. In fact, when I'm working with people, if I hear their stomach gurgling, we love those noises.
Really?
We want them to burp, we want them to fart, because that means that the parasympathetic nervous system has come online and there's now relaxation. So there was sometimes, there's some people, and with me it happens when I have my, when I go to my therapist, the stomach is just going crazy.
Is it because it's calming?
Because the parasympathetic has come online, meaning that you're not in fight or flight, and your body relaxes, and so your stomach does what it needs to do, to digest or to do,
Wow.
yeah.
That's extraordinary.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Yeah.
It's really interesting when you first learn it, and people might go, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't know why my stomach is." I'm like, "No, we love noises. Bring it on." Yeah, yeah. So it's really interesting. Yeah. So when you're having stuff like that, because many times the body will let you know first that there might be something going on that your mind isn't fully aware of. If you're having that, it's always important, as we've learned in Psych 101, to rule out anything medical.
Of course.
But you may also be curious about, could this be that my body is so used to being in fight or flight that I'm not allowing the parasympathetic nervous system to come online and relax and digest my food, and a lot of autoimmune diseases are linked to unresolved trauma. In fact, a documentary called Resilience, I think we talked about it a few weeks ago, that just went to Sundance last year, was about a very famous study called the ACE study, where this one doctor, I think Kaiser actually, did a study where he found obesity, was linked to unresolved child abuse, and in fact, so was diabetes and a lot of physical ailments.
Wow.
Yeah. And you can imagine, if your body is like this and it's always in fight or flight, at some point that's going to bring some wear and tear on the body.
Yeah.
How can it not?
Right.
You know?
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have up on the screen there some different symptoms as a result of increased stress and what it does to your body.
Yeah. Your adrenals are on all the time, so it can affect your kidneys, because the adrenals sit on top of the kidney.
Wow.
So there's
Leaky
a lot
gut,
of
narrowing of the arteries, can't even speak, skin texture, loss of skin tone, loss of moisture, decreased moods, decreased immunity, hormonal imbalance, increased cortisol, and muscle protein breakdowns.
Right.
Wow.
Psoriasis of the skin sometimes. It's, when as a little kid you had someone who was crossing your boundaries all the time, then your boundaries get irritated, and so sometimes we do an exercise like this where you're just kind of touching. So your brain now can register through your hands where your body is, because you do have, the skin is the first boundary. But when boundaries been crossed so often that, and so sometimes I'll just have people do this in session and notice, and then up and down their legs. And it's really, they go, oh, I can feel myself,
Wow. Is it they feel themselves so they exist?
Yeah. When someone crosses your boundaries as an infant, even as a little baby, then you feel like you don't exist because, there's not a you there. I can't tell you how many times I'll work with someone and we'll do this simple exercise where I stand on one corner of the room and they're standing in another, and I say, I'm going to walk towards you, and the minute you notice a shift, it could be any kind of shift, I want you to go stop,
Right.
Some can't do it.
Wow.
I mean, I'm literally in their face, and I know that, stop. And one person stopped, and she couldn't lift her arms froze. And so we'll practice it over and over until, and boy, when they stop, you literally see them, you literally see the spine kind of, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah. So stress is, it's something to really take seriously and to really do something about.
Yeah, and stress management.
Stress
and really, since
management,
stress doesn't go away, we really need to learn how to manage it
Yeah.
the best that we can.
Right.
Sleeping is important
Sleeping
for stress.
is huge.
That's how I find that I do a lot of repair.
Sleeping is huge. Exercise, as you mentioned before, is huge. Eating well.
Yeah, eating properly. Yeah, junk food really just exacerbates it.
Yeah, because you're not nourishing your body.
Exactly.
Right. I mean, it's,
Unplugging from the computer,
yeah.
from electronics, getting
And
out,
that's
nature.
caused a lot of stress.
It really has, the EMFs, right?
Is it, what does EMF stand for?
The electromagnetic forces, I guess, of the screens.
Yeah.
But people have EMF addiction.
Well, I was just going to say to
Yeah.
the addiction part of
Yeah.
it.
What do you mean
Yeah.
addiction, EMF addiction?
They're addicted to the actual whatever the EMF is doing to them. It's attracting them. It's making them they're feeding off of the
So
EMF.
that would be like always on somebody that's always on the computer or laptop or their phone or their whatever.
Yeah. Actually, try to bring it up.
There's you would know. I bought a stone. It's
Electromagnetic
a black stone.
fields.
That's
yeah.
it.
Yeah. I bought a black stone that they say if you put it next to
Yeah.
Obsidian,
obsidian, is
I
it?
think.
I can't remember the name, but somebody told me that in a stone shop, and she said just put it by where you charge your phone because it's probably next to you, and it is. It's in my nightstand, and just leave it there. And so I have a black obsidian stone there.
Great.
And as much as I talk badly about my iPhone, they do have a thing where if you put in Do Not Disturb, but you can let some callers through.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So, like, I'll have family members. If they call, it'll go through.
You'll have to show me that one.
Yeah, otherwise I'll turn it off because, yes,
All right.
And some people religiously come maybe 8 p.m. or 9 p.m., turn that on. You can program it so it turns on its own at that time.
Wow.
And the phone is off. And I think it's important to kind of take a break from that.
It is important.
Yeah.
I've noticed that if I'm sitting on the couch and I'm just trying to relax and my dog is up on the couch with me, and let's say I pick up my phone to do something, she actually gets in my face with it.
Yeah, my cat does. The
Really?
Same thing.
Oh, yeah. No, it's unbelievable.
Seriously, yeah.
And she does not like that. So I go,
Yep.
okay, Livy, and I put it down. And it's a
It's
deal.
either my tablet or my phone. It doesn't
Right,
matter
me
what
too.
it
It's my
is.
tablet, the
Yeah.
same thing.
That
It
is
doesn't
so
matter.
interesting.
Yeah. So animals are aware of it.
Wow.
Yeah, they don't like to, they don't want that.
I got to say,
And they're natural
sometimes-
stress releasers, by the way.
Yeah.
Holding your animal.
That's true.
Yes.
The petting
Very.
your-
Oh, yeah. So I love it. It's the best.
That is true. That is true.
And hugging somebody is important.
Yeah. And also paying attention. I remember Sydney one time said, Mom, you're always on the phone when you pick me up from school.
Oh, my
I got
God.
off that phone. I didn't realize I got off that phone. And let me tell you, with kids, it's the best information you're going to get because they're distracted. They're looking at things. And when you're looking at things, you can talk more as opposed to face kind of thing, especially with kids. When you ask, how was school? Fine. Right. So I got off the phone. So listen to your kids. If your kids are telling you something, it's so important to listen. Mom, you're on your phone all the time. No, I'm not. No, listen. They're observing it. They don't have to worry about mortgage or work.
Right.
So they actually observe what actually is happening. So it's really important to pay attention. And listen to your kids. Yeah. So anyways, we hope we've helped you out with a little bit of information.
It's a lot of
Periscope
information.
crowd, thank you for tuning in. And we will see you next week.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Both Sides Now, featuring the unconventional duo Dr. Shirley and Kellee White. Two perspectives, one world.